infomercial approach, but more like the human side. Why is it important? You know, we can geek out on the old the technology. It's all good. So, and then I'll take some notes. If I go down and I take notes, it's because I'm not as sharp as you, and I'll just sit there and I. Industrial Talk, the number one industrial-related podcast in the universe, and we're in a fishbowl here at IMTS. It is absolutely the Grand Canyon of manufacturing events. I mean, the stuff that is here is, I don't know, stunning. Right, Chris?
Oh, absolutely.
You cannot take your eye off of it.
For sure. And
even the little stuff.
This building you're in here, though, this is where really all the fun happens. This is where you see the cool stuff.
Yeah, because
everything else is great, but
yeah,
the machines in this building, I mean, just will blow your mind.
It is. If you've never been to IMTS, the reality is that it's probably the size of a small state of just technology, innovation, solutions, and it is, man. I'm sitting here and I'm just geeking out, and I haven't even begun to just sort of wander the halls.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you could take days to maze your way through this place. I mean, absolutely days.
You know, we're going to be doing technology speed dating here.
We are.
Really? We're going to go to booth to booth to booth, and we're going to say, "Hey, what's your technology? What problems does it solve?"
Sorry,
That's
I gotta
cool.
go.
because were you here 4 years ago?
So I've been doing this show since 1998.
No kidding.
And I've only missed.
Did you have hair
I only
back
missed
then?
one. I did have hair back then, but not a lot.
Well, I understand. I understand completely. But you've seen a lot of changes.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Just in what industry can do, the technology within the machine tools, and now there's this whole digital twin concept that's a big portion of our product portfolio. I mean, it just blows my mind from cranking around a Bridgeport in the 80s to what you can do now. I mean, 5-axis, it was like a thing of the future. Now, if you don't have it, you're not a player.
See, and that's amazing, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, my ears were bleeding when I heard 5-axis, and then when you see it, you're going, oh, I don't even know what that blows my mind. Okay, before we really get rolling,
sure,
right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we could geek out all day long. You need to provide the listeners with a little background, a little 411 on who Chris is,
okay.
And then we'll venture into what Siemens is doing, and you get the routine.
Yep, no problem.
And then when we have to break, we just have to break, and then I'm just going to have to cut you off and be rude.
That's fair enough.
All right.
I can talk forever, so you just shut me down when you want.
Swing for the fences, Chris.
So I've been in the industry for obviously a few years, not to date myself.
Yep.
Have a manufacturing engineering background, but I apprenticed as a machinist, and then I got my tool and die certification. So I was down on the floor in the trenches. My career moved into working for a machine tool OEM for about 15 years. And then from there, I segued and started working for Siemens. So I've been with Siemens now for over 10 years, and it's been a great ride. So I get an interesting position. I get to manage a team of guys that they go out and work with any machine tool OEM that is building machines with our control systems. I work for the CNC control side. Additionally, I saw a little bit of a gap in us reaching kind of the anonymous market space, we like to call it, right? Those job shop mom and pops out there where you just don't have enough feet on the street to get to them. So I built our own YouTube channel. We call it Mr. CNC. So I am
there it is, note to self, Mr. CNC.
So we've had, I think we're a million and a half views. We have like 6,000 followers. I mean, it's not as fun as watching those silly cat videos, but it's pretty cool.
Okay, I got to ask this one question: is when you first started out and you were venturing into that profession, and the first time you had to sort of program a CNC machine, was it scary? Was it successful? Was it whatever, a no-brainer? What was it?
So, I mean, it was a little of all. You know, when you're looking at a machine that's like double your yearly salary, you don't want to break it.
Yeah, it's true.
and what we call it pucker factor, right? When you hit that CNC
cycle
start.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and you can make diamonds there.
Yes, you can, for sure. But yeah, no. So I've transitioned.
But when you did it,
yes,
and you got it right.
Oh, I mean,
and it spit out a thing.
Like, right? You're on the top of the world.
Yes, exactly.
And at that point, the machine was a 2-axis machine.
Yes, exactly.
So we've come a long way.
No, heck of a long way. All right, so here we are.
Yep.
You've got Siemens. You're saying, hey, we found this gap. Explain to the listeners, you're in the digital transformation sort of area of the CNC. Paint that picture.
So from a
without
product,
being an infomercial, Chris.
Right, absolutely. From a product portfolio standpoint, Siemens, we've been really a market leader in technology since we started. I mean, that's really a big driver. I mean, we've been producing CNC and NC controls since the 50s and 60s in certain variations.
Amazing.
And our go-to-market is really, we want to drive technology forward. So for us, probably even 15 years ago, we saw this need to digitalize the machine tool floor. How do we take processes that people are doing organically, right? Analog. I'm setting my machine, I'm validating all this stuff. But how do we make it more proficient so the machine tool can stay running longer, right? That's always the key. As long as my spindle's running, I'm making money. If my spindle's not running, I'm not making money.
That's a good point.
So,
you get more that asset, or you get your asset running at a higher rate. Okay, continue.
So we kind of adopted this concept early on where we were trying to figure out, well, how do we take a machine tool and create what the industry now calls a digital twin? We had a digital twin before that term was cool, by far. But it's been a long road. And what we're showing here at IMTS is we've now been able to get it between all our solutions because we own NX, or NX is part of our product portfolio. That's a CAD/CAM programming system.
Is that a Nancy X-ray? NX?
A Nancy X-ray.
Okay,
so I don't know if you've ever heard of Unigraphics, UG, back in the day. They were like the premier leader of 3D modeling. I mean, they kind of created the concept in the 80s. Well, UG is what eventually became NX.
I got you.
So through the years, and then
is there going to be a test on this?
There is. I'm going to check it out at the end. So what we've done is we can show in our booth kind of the entire CAD/CAM process chain of how I take a part from concept right through final manufacturing, but we're leveraging all of the digital technology now.
So really the driver here, when I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that greater utilization of that very important asset, the CNC or whatever the machine is, but you're able to bring in all of the data. Is that what you're saying? And then being able to optimize that workflow?
That is part of it, but it's more than just data. Everybody thinks, oh, it's zeros and ones, and I'm just worried about this number or that number. No, we can actually digitalize the setup process. So a user can go to a PC, and he can say, I'm going to now set my job up on my machine tool. This is my fixture. I'm going to drop it in that machine. This is my workpiece blank. I'm going to put it in there. These are my holders. So we can create a 3D model of
Are
the
you simulating
process.
it?
Yes.
It's just a simulation.
Yep. Fully simulated. But it's being simulated with a piece of software that has the brain of the CNC in it, what we call our NC kernel. So that was always the problem. Third-party machine simulation by its own is great, but it's just going to show you mechanics, right? Is that tool going to hit that part? But they have no idea the decisions the control makes, which is really the key. And that's the difference between knowing exactly what's going to happen when I hit cycle start on the floor and having a kind of assumption that it should be close.
See, that's interesting. So the reality is that you're from concept to production,
Cradle to grave.
Cradle to grave.
Yep.
Solution and view of that whole process, and then probably scrap, whatever the likelihood of it being accurate at the end, the probability is very high.
Exactly.
And that's real.
And that's key.
That's money.
Yep, that's money.
Wow, see that's pretty doggone cool.
Yeah, it's some neat toys. It's some neat toys. So I can take these toys and play with it on our YouTube channel and kind of get people up to speed on what we can do, how they can integrate it into their processes.
See,
and I just get to play.
Yeah, see, it's just like if you're into the Discovery Channel or if you're into National Geographics, this stuff is just it's just rich with excitement from my perspective. Maybe I'm one of 6,000. Let's put it that way.
That's right.
Now that let's venture into something that is really interesting.
Sure.
This is great. This is technology. This is innovation. You're seeing all of the changes that are taking place, and you see this level of velocity just with all of this. The question comes to mind is the ability to be able to train the people, bodies, and be able to do it in an efficient way so that you can keep on moving that innovative train forward. What are we doing?
And that's the big challenge, right?
Yeah.
As a country, as a nation, we kind of moved away from manufacturing, and we closed down a lot of our Votechs. So we're undergoing a huge skills gap right now, and everybody's scrambling to figure out how do we get these people to be effective and train the next level workforce. So you have two ways that you can treat this problem, right? Yes, you can find people and get them interested in the trades, which we're trying to do all the time, and get them up to speed, but we can also make the machines simpler to use, so we can actually lower the skill level of the operator.
Ah, right.
And then we're also adding robotics, automation, so now where years ago it would be a shop of 100 machinists cranking dials, you can put out more work with a little more capital expense, initially a startup, with 5 guys.
See, you touched upon something that is really interesting. You see the necessity, because some of this stuff out here, as I look out, can be really complex.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to minimize it, but that's an elevated skill that requires more than a week of training, right? But if you can, from the technology point of view, simplify it, make it approachable, then you're achieving that result of being able to sort of keep on pushing this innovation forward. People are concerned about robotics, but you got to keep the wheels rolling. So you've got to have these solutions. But then again, you need individuals to program the robots. You need to, it's the same thing.
And that's a key portion, right? A lot of people think they're going to take our jobs away from us.
Yeah.
No, as long as you stay with the technology, you're actually going to have better earning potential, because now you understand these systems where there's a lot of other people that do not. So it gives you an edge. So don't think of it like displacing your job. You just got to continually learn, right? As long as you keep learning, as long as you keep growing your skill set, your growth is almost exponential.
Is there a negative, and I know is sort of a leading question. So there is this misconception of manufacturing. There's a misconception of this skilled capability out here that it's dirty. It's like, whatever. I graduated from, and I did. No. How do we change that messaging, right? How do we just say, no, guys, this is next level stuff, and you're in it?
So, in my mind, I think we got to start as young as we can, exposing our youth to this industry. I mean, I remember even when I went through grade school, right into going to college, I had never walked into an industrial machine shop. I thought machinists were guys cranking handles, boring out engines. And when I got exposed to that industry and saw this world that I didn't know about, it was like eye-opening. So I think you got to get down to the grade school level. We got to get in front of the counselors out there, the educators, and expose them to our industry. That's where we can really open the eyes of our youth that, you know what, not everybody needs to sit behind a desk, and there's absolutely nothing wrong. I can bring you into machine shops where you can eat off the floor. Every machine's $1 million plus. You telling me that's a low-end job running $1 million machine tool, working on aerospace parts? I mean, this is a prestigious position.
What's Siemens' role? Because, well, pretty much Siemens is in everything. Just FYI.
We are in everything. We even make washing machines.
I think I bought a gallon of milk with Siemens on it or whatever.
You may have.
But what's Siemens doing to help facilitate that workforce of the future? I mean, I would.
So simplifying our control systems, right? Making the technology more approachable, and little things like our touch screens are multi-touch. So what does that mean? Well, that means,
I don't know, 2 hands?
The guy grabs his phone and he pinches, right? He can put 2 points on the phone oriented. So now all of a sudden we have the control reacting like the guy's cell phone. So what he thinks about, right, what he does every day, he can now interface with the control that way. Something as simple as just making it familiar. We have applications that he hits to do a task. What do you do on your phone? You grab an app.
Yeah.
So that's one way we can try to make the technology a lot more approachable. And then this whole digital twin concept, we can now give educators, whether it be colleges, Votex, tools where you can now get the students in front of the machine tools without having to have a huge capital expense. Why should I have to have 30 CNCs on the floor for the kid to jog around and learn how to set up when I could have one in the shop, but I could have 30 PCs that do the exact same thing digitally.
And get that same experience.
And get the exact same experience.
Now Siemens provides that.
Yes.
That whole platform,
Yep.
Is Siemens involved in being able to provide these for Votech?
Yes.
For colleges, whatever it might be.
Yeah, we collaborate with education very heavy. Actually, I was just at Penn College, affiliate of Penn State, putting a new machine tool, a Track VMC7, into their machine shop. And they're revamping their entire machining curriculum, and they're going to have full PCs. I think they were talking about 30, 35 PCs with all these digital workstations on it. They have the real technology on the floor. So I don't want to use the term kids because they re-educate a lot too, but the students, right,
absolutely,
the workforce, they get a chance to experience the entire process. But before you had the digital twin, imagine to get somebody that one-on-one experience with the machine tool, you had to have 5 guys standing around one machine. Nobody got enough time.
Do you see that traditional, what we define as traditional education, do you think it's nimble enough to be able to, I mean, come on, you see the velocity out here. It's a renaissance, but it's a renaissance that's on steroids for whatever. It's just going crazy.
So I think the expectation of somebody coming out of a Votech program and being right at skill level is unrealistic.
It is.
But as long as they set the foundation, then as industry, we can get them the rest of the way. And I think that's what real shops are doing, right? They understand they're going to then take these new employees that are just new to the industry and the technology. They're coming in, as long as they come in with a good solid base of understanding, then they can educate them the rest of the way.
Is it necessary to begin planting those seeds in high school?
Oh, absolutely.
How far back would you go?
I would probably even consider going back to middle school.
I want shop classes come back.
You know, we still have great shop classes.
Do we?
In our local high school. Yep,
Do
in
you?
New York. Unbelievable. Actually, a good buddy of mine actually runs the shop class, my buddy Don. And I mean, they have the CNC router.
No way.
Yep, they have a manual lathe, manual mill. I went in there and showed them how to use the machine, showed them how to do some programming.
Yeah, here's the funny thing with Chris. When I did speak to him on Zoom, he was down in his basement, and he has a machine in his basement, an actual CNC, right?
Oh yeah, it's a 4-axis mill.
Yeah,
that's my studio. That's where I produce a lot of my YouTube content.
That is amazing. Now, see what's interesting about that's where industry, manufacturing, as a whole, was where I was inspired when I was in high school. And I was welding, and it's sort of, I think we need to go back to that.
You know what I like, and I've actually participated with quite a bit, is the FIRST program, FIRST Robotics. I think that, do you know FIRST?
No.
So basically, it was started by Dean Kamen and another board. Do you know who Dean Kamen is? He developed the Segway. He's done.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
so,
I know the Segway.
He wanted to be able to take manufacturing and make it cool. Right.
See, there it is.
So imagine like the same following as a football game, but it's doing something in manufacturing. So what happens is you get a challenge. So you're going to have to take some ball and put it in a hoop and drive around.
Right.
And the robot that the kids are going to design themselves and build and then compete with at stadium level competitions is done within like a 2-month time frame.
See, I think that if anybody had an opportunity to come to an event like this, it would blow their mind. And I think that it's imperative that many of these, you look around and you're looking at these individuals, and you can tell that they're just super duper passionate about what they do. And it's infectious. And I think that it would benefit many to be able, from a youth perspective, to come, be on the floor, take a look at this, look at the thing spinning around, feeding style, whatever it might be, that is good. And I think I'm glad what Siemens is doing, and I'll be more than happy to support anything that Siemens does from an education perspective, because I don't see how we as a world do not support that, and if we do not support that, then the machines are going to take over the world, because you got to keep the thing spinning, right? You got to do it. So don't do it.
That's right.
Yes. But the reality is that what I see out here, what is being featured here, is truly making our lives better.
Yes. Yeah.
And it is a passion I think that is one that is underappreciated. It is like you're a superhero with nobody really sort of saying, "Hey, check it out. There's Chris, man. Chris is a superhero, man." So anyway, so Chris.
Yes.
So somebody's listening out there and they're saying, "Okay, I really like what Chris is saying." So how does somebody get a hold of Chris?
Easiest thing, go to the Mr. CNC YouTube channel, watch any one of my 120 videos.
Subscribe.
Subscribe, please. Like, subscribe. Yeah, definitely. But honestly, all of my contact information's there. So email address, phone number. I prefer you email me over call me, but anybody can reach out to me. It's the easiest way to get my contact information.
Yeah.
And then, Siemens being such a behemoth, as you mentioned.
Oh, it's a beast.
A lot of times I may not have the answer, but I can hopefully navigate you to the guy that might. So I like to be there as a facilitator and a resource for people for kind of all things Siemens. But at the end of the day, my specialty is operation and programming. So if you have a machine tool with our control, or you're looking at maybe moving into the technology that we're really good at, then reach out. I'd be happy to help.
And I hate to do this to you again, because I think that we got all geeky on that. How do they get a hold of you? What is that your YouTube?
Mr. CNC.
Yeah.
So just go to the Mr. CNC.
And that's MR CNC.
That's MR CNC.
Not MISTE.
No. MR CNC. Yeah, just type it in YouTube. You'll see any one of a million videos of mine. And then, follow the channel.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why did you start that YouTube channel? Just because you know that time and place. You're saying, okay, I got to start a YouTube channel.
So it actually started from a web series we were doing. So we started doing webinars, and we were direct marketing the webinars.
Yeah.
And so I had all this content. I'm recording all these webinars. We're putting them on our website. But I'm like, we need to access the broader market. If the market doesn't know we exist, why are they going to go to our website? They'll never find it. So eventually it was like,
brilliant.
Let's just start dumping this content on YouTube. So we created the channel. I had like 20 videos at the time already done. Everybody's like, you're nuts. They're an hour and a half long. Nobody's going to watch an hour and a half video. And guess what? They do. And I can tell you, I get people I have followers in like 50 different countries. I get emails on a daily basis saying, I am learning how to run a Siemens control by watching your videos.
Chris is the man. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much
My
for being
pleasure.
in the IMTS Plus Creators Lounge, because you are a creator. You're a YouTube juggernaut.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate getting a chance to hang out with you. And honestly,
I'm trying to get you to
off
stumble.
my feet.
All right. Thank
This
you very
is
much for
great.
joining Industrial Talk and IMTS Creators Lounge. We are once again broadcasting live from IMTS, and it is I don't know, it is the Grand Canyon of manufacturing. Thank you very much. We will be right back.
Thank you.
Waiting for my microphone. Wow. We hope that you enjoyed that fantastic conversation with Chris Pollock, who's standing right behind me, fresh from,
All right.
and Scott McKenzie, talking about inspiring the different innovators, planting the seeds for the next generation of innovators. We hope that you enjoyed and are enjoying our live feed. But we want you to continue to catch us live. IMTS on YouTube for Scott McKenzie, Industrial Talk YouTube, and Industrial Talk on LinkedIn. Also follow our Industrial Strength Marketing at Industrial Strength on YouTube. You have so many projects, so many assignments, and ways to stay connected. Your next assignment is to hang out and hang tight for a fantastic interview with Charlie Matthews, as she empowers women in industry, and the particular woman that she is empowering and interviewing, Amanda Holloway. Stay tuned. Hashtag We Are Creators IMTS 2022. The floor is buzzing at the Grand Canyon. I believe we're in the Grand Canyon. Did you know we're in the Grand Canyon, James?
We're in the Grand Canyon of manufacturing, according to Scott. I think it's bigger than the Grand Canyon. Everest.
How many buildings of brilliance are actually involved in this? I believe there's 4 different halls. Is that right?
No, there's 9 halls.
Wow. I'm an actor and a host. Math is not my strong point. That's why I got this man right here. 9 different pavilions. We're expecting 90,000 participants over this week. I know, right? Jaw dropped.
For real.
For real. And in addition to the people that are actually here, it's you that we want to hear from. Tune in, hashtag We Are Creators. Share your insights, your innovations, your inspirations. Hashtag IMTS 2022.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, and we are nothing without our stage manager. She's on camera. She's keeping everything together. Yay! It's so fantastic. I ask for anything, and it's right there. We're ready to go. Team Innovators. Ooh, come here. Check out this. Look at them. Look at them in the beautiful goldfish bowl, getting ready to talk about innovation, creation, and empowering women in marketing, manufacturing, marketing, all the M words. 60 seconds to come back from the bathroom. Bring me a coffee. Enjoy.
all about it. You're all about it.
dancing.
It's about Hey everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I am so excited to have Amanda Holloway with me today. We have really a lot to share. I mean, it's going to be about you. And the intro was it's all about me or all about manufacturing, I don't know, but we're going to talk about you today. And we're going to talk about growing up here. And I think that when we think about the pump industry, which is my background, you've got the background too, it's one portion, right? We talk about the systems a lot, we talk about manufacturing, but coming to IMTS, wow, it has been amazing to see that, yes, there's some pumps here, but there's a lot of other things here. So I want to connect the industry, the pump industry with the manufacturing industry, and while we're really here, as creators, right?
Yes.
You have been one of those creators that I've admired, I've worked with for 10 plus years. It has really been amazing. So Amanda, just you're with Xylem and
Yes.
you are a host of your podcast. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I had the pleasure of speaking with you earlier this year, and I love to be able to elevate what we're doing over at Xylem via our podcast. So Xylem is a water technology company. We're headquartered in Washington, D.C., and I joined the company unofficially about 11 years ago and officially about 8 years ago. And I've had a bunch of different roles in the marketing and communications team, both global and domestic. And a few years ago, I created a podcast called Solving Water, a Xylem podcast, specifically to help generate content and elevate our people within the industry, right? We wanted to find a very comfortable way to gather their thought leadership and share the message. So started the podcast, very industry focused in late 2019, and then we all know what happened 6 months later, COVID hit, and it was great to have that channel set up. And I've just expanded the content well beyond just what we're doing in the Americas in our certain markets. But yeah, I've been growing up with all sorts of pumps.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, right? We did have to take a shift. We had to adapt to how we're going to share content when we can't get to a trade show like this. I know we talked about it. We missed that 2020 show, IMTS, and people were like, wow, we definitely can't wait 4 years to get together. Let's get together. And this is, you can tell it. Everybody has great energy here. They're having, like, walking by this Creators Lounge and waving and exciting. Y'all say hello, everyone, right? So it's been a lot of fun to see those trade shows come back, but also we learned a lot. We learned about creating content. So let's kind of go backwards a little bit. So my company is 11 years old this year, and so Empowering Pumps is what we started, and we created things like articles, white papers, and I know you were a big part of that for Xylem and the company before, because you have that agency background. So you're a creator, and so that's what we really wanted to bring into this lounge is people who have the experience of creating content. And it went from, like I said, the paper, the print, all the way into now podcasting. Tell us like your perspective of that.
Yeah, it's really evolved a lot, actually. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, and I don't think that there's very many water technology companies or even manufacturing, any kind of more industrial B2B type companies that are embracing the podcast the way that they could. So it's a super low risk, flexible way to get their content out there. Like I said, we initially started it to generate content for specific parts of our business, and now it's more about educating and bringing people in. I get a lot of emails and notes on LinkedIn about wanting to join Xylem and learning more about the company, and so it's becoming really an information source beyond just trying to produce new content.
Right, and so we have so much content that we've already produced. There's so many materials out there, and so it's just highlighting the people out there in the industry doing remarkable things. So whether it's in your staff, if it's one of your customers, I've even seen your most recent interview is amazing. So anytime that and so let everybody know, Solving Water podcast, make sure you go and take a look at that. But anytime that we bring in people outside of our company, and we're talking to people in, space, for example, that was really cool that we've seen here at IMTS. But when we bring those people to the pump industry and share those ideas, we're innovating, we're growing because we're stretching across that norm that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're, you probably understand this more than most, but Xylem is one of the few manufacturers in the water space that's doing a podcast. So again, highly encourage you to just get out there and give it a try if it's something that you're interested in terms of another marketing channel. Like I said, it came in very helpful during COVID when, Zoom became the channel of preference, right? And so able to record them remotely and
yeah,
like
is
you
it
said,
hard? Is it really difficult to do a podcast? That's the question. I mean, today we're set up and we're doing some amazing live streaming and like some amazing equipment, but sometimes it's just about getting started. So, like, did you find it how?
Oh my gosh!
Like your startup.
I was,
what was that
so
like?
nervous in the beginning, and if you go back and listen to some earlier episodes, you'll notice just things I picked up in learning how to be a good host and not to be so nervous. But it doesn't. It's really, the more you can make it like a conversation like we're having now, the more engaging it is for the audience and more fun for you. And we talked about this the last time we spoke about just having a natural curiosity and people's stories and their journeys, and also just our industry in general and the different ways everything intersects. I mean, that's part of what I love about podcasting is I interview somebody about our recreational marine division. I've interviewed people that produce water documentaries and other nonprofits that we're partnering with in other ways. Like, just there's so many different facets, and it's just so interesting to hear where people are coming from.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want to hear those stories, whether you're a manufacturer or you're the end user of the product. Those stories are what brings it that humanistic side that you can remember. So storytelling is so important. And so we could go on and on about that. Me and you, we love storytelling. We'd love to hear your story as you're walking by. You can come back over and tell us your story. But one thing I want to talk about is empowering women in industry. Xylem is a sponsor for that event coming up October 13th in New Orleans, and I want to hear your perspective about being a woman in the industry. I'm so glad that we are here. So if anybody who doesn't think so, women are here in the industry, and it's not just marketing, even though we do have marketing in our background. So I'm excited that Xylem is supporting our women, and what does that mean to you to work there?
It's incredible. I mean, and I've seen such a transformation in the 11 years that I've been with the company in some form or fashion. I think that there's a concerted effort to make manufacturing and or any, again, B2B, water, technology, any of that more accessible so it's less intimidating, and then also really highlighting those positions and our people in that way. So I think it's fantastic that Xylem is a sponsor of the event, and I can't wait to go and check it out.
Yeah, so it is. It's important that our companies, all of our companies, pay attention to diversity, equity, inclusion, and this is just one way that they can show that they do care about their employees and giving them that leadership development that is just necessary for growth within an organization. And, to see your path, right, from coming in from the agency world, coming in and sharing those stories, building that relationship, because really that is what it's about. If you don't have somebody to interview, then it's not going to be a very good interview, right? So it's going to be non-existent, obviously. But that's the thing. You got to build relationships, and we've done that from creating technical articles all the way to a video. Right. We have to be able to say, hey, jump on here with me. It's just a conversation with me. Let's go, right?
Right. And one of the things I'm very passionate about recently is the fact that, I don't have an engineering background, right? I have a marketing communications background, business degree. I'm not an engineer, and I work with very, very intelligent people who have engineering backgrounds. And it's just been wonderful how they bring you in and you don't have to be worried that you don't have the right exact credentials, because everybody has different talents and different passions, and you bring that to the table, and you break down barriers through communication, and you help those folks tell their message, and then you get to have a place in the organization too.
That's right. And we talk about that. Everybody has their own superpower, right? We need everybody to work together. And so that's why I love kind of the Empowering Women in Industry. In industry, I wanted to stretch that and get outside of kind of that silo of the pump industry, and say, let's all work together. And what does that look like, whether you're a manufacturer or operator? Let's talk to each other. Let's, solve water problems for sure. And, I do have a big passion for water. I went to Uganda recently, and I really did love seeing that there's still work to do, right? It's hard to be in that space, but it's also, I know that there are technologies out there that can solve these problems. And so it's inspiring, and it's something that's worth talking about and getting excited about water. And so you get to do that anytime you want, okay? If you all want to talk water, Amanda will talk with you.
Yeah, please
manufacturing
come.
As well, right?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's awesome that you went to Uganda. That's an amazing experience. I'm sure you were wonderful there. Yeah,
Well, I was going to say, I wrote a blog about it, so you can absolutely read all about it and see. One of the things I did was twirl a baton, out there for the children that were in the schools as they clapped and sang. And it was really getting out of your comfort zone, right? And so I think a lot of this, even this lounge, as we're looking around, we're kind of in this, I like what Steve said, we're in this fishbowl, if you will. But it's kind of fun to see and interact. So even just, I'm like waving at people, and, it's just kind of a neat.
Come on by and say hello.
That's right. It's very neat to be here. And so I guess next for the podcast, you are looking for speakers for that. But what have you learned from being a podcast host?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think recent happenings in the world has really helped me solidify what that is for me. So, for example, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act. I'm sure I butchered that, but that legislation that passed really put to light for me the kinds of ways that we're all connected. So I did a podcast with one of our sales directors about the Bridge Investment Program, which is part of the IIJA, and I was like, really? What do we have to do with bridges? We are a water company. Well, when you dig up bridges and build new bridges, you build them over bodies of water, you hit water when you dig, just a whole new world. So I guess what I'm learning is that everything is so much more connected, and it's just so interesting how we all touch water in a different way. We all are in manufacturing in a different way, whether or not we're making pumps or nuts and bolts, right?
Yes, and I always love that you have to have a pump in order to make a pump. But any manufacturing plant that I've been in, because water is a part of every manufacturing process, and we want to make sure that we reuse that water and really make sure that we're thinking about the most efficient way to run a system. I'm sure there's lots of talk around there. When we're talking about robotics here a lot, it's easy to see that as you walk through.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and I saw that while walking through a plant. It was a motor manufacturer's plant. But being able for the robots and the humans to work together, it's just another way of just saying, okay, we all have to really think and communicate about these issues and these problems. And I think podcasting is one of the easiest ways to share stories that people can relate to. So as we see all of these people walking by, and yes, they're waving, I love it, that we think about how can we share their story to solve a problem. That is the thing. We're sharing that. We're telling how we did solve problems as well.
And we're also just helping get the message out and educating people, right? So you're talking about the need in Uganda, and what I've learned in the past year even is that there's a need here in the U.S. terribly badly there's 2 million people in the U.S. without access to running water. And we partner with the Water Boys, the Chris Long Foundation, the Water Boys organization. We partner with Dig Deep, just Georgia McGraw, just wonderful people, and really working to help people at home get access to water too. So if you want to learn more, again, it doesn't have to be intimidating. That's what's so great about it. Like, you can be anyone and just get in there and help.
Yes, and the other thing about kind of sharing these stories, they're entertaining to learn about how people get into the industry, and then what are they working on, and then the other thing I really like is how you can connect people. So every time I listen to a podcast, and I also think that listening to podcasts is one of the easiest things you can do, right? You can do it while you're doing the laundry or walking or running, whatever you're out. I don't know why I can't say this. Sorry, like physical fitness
sure.
habit
Commuting,
is.
whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, your
Commuting.
downtime.
All kinds of things that you can do. But it's easy. And so once you make that habit, you're learning. And I think you mentioned that earlier of just, interviewing people is such a source of learning about the industry and outside of your industry. And then the other part is you can connect. So every time I listen to a podcast, to go back, is, okay, how can I connect that person to somebody I know? How can we bring this communication together? Eileen O'Neill was just on the podcast, and she's sharing about bringing in these water CEOs and talking about lessons learned. And that is so important to our industry. Because that's how we're going to solve these big problems.
Yeah.
And they're bigger than one company. That's what we've seen. And, even at this Creators Lounge, where we're all telling stories, and there's all these different interview influencers. So we have, we're talking about additive manufacturing and robotics, like I said earlier, manufacturing and CNC machines. Like, we don't normally just talk about this in the pump industry, right? We're talking about impellers, we're talking about, mechanical seals, so it's, okay, what are we learning while we're here? And I think part of it is the pump industry definitely needs to come connect and see what kind of some of this technology is that we can use. And so thanks for being here. I think that you are leading the way, especially taking that risk to create a podcast. And it was before the pandemic, I'd like to point out, had that foresight. Mine wasn't. It was after we had our Empowering Industry podcast. 2020 is when we launched it. But it was because I wasn't on the road as much and I had more time. But for you, being able to have that, this is where the industry is going, and creating that, you were ready. And so that's where we want people to be. We want people to be ready to go. We want them to come to the Creators Lounge and ask us about how to create content. If you're scared, let me know. You can do things scared, for sure. And it's not that hard, right?
It's really not, especially if you love to talk to people, which I would guess most of y'all do, being at a trade show. That's like your ultimate time to talk to people. So absolutely, it's not difficult at all.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you? What is the Solving Water podcast? How do you reach that?
Sure. Well, Solving Water, a Xylem podcast, is available anywhere you stream podcasts, so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all the different platforms. You can also find our entire library dating back to 2019 on solvingwater.podbean.com, which is our host platform. And then also check us out if you're interested in seeing how that intersection of water and manufacturing in this realm can work together. Xylem.com is where you can find more information about what we do.
And tell us again where to find that podcast with the archives there.
Yeah, that is solvingwater.podbean.com.
Perfect. Well, I'm really excited that you created this resource that we can all kind of go back. Don't worry if you missed it. It's there forever. And that's what I love about podcasting, is that you can really spend time, like schedule some time. I want to learn about this. And then how can this apply to my job? And then also, like, you can just look and see the amazing influence or thought leaders out in our industry and say, like, hey, I would like to talk to you. And if they said yes to a podcast, they're pretty open. And so they're probably going to say, yes, I'm happy to help you. I will, be that person, that mentor for you. That's what I found. No one says, nah, I don't want to be on a podcast.
Right.
They're like, yeah, let me figure out when in my schedule.
And especially once you do it once, they're like, whoa, that was awesome. So for sure. I mean, I think people generally are pretty open to it
Okay,
it's
so
good.
so thank you. Everybody go check out her podcast. I wanted to say, Amanda, that you have had such a career, and so in the pump industry for one. So any marketers out there that are looking for guidance or a mentor, I think you would be great, a role model. You're definitely a role model to me, even though we've been in the industry a lot of about the same time.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's how it works. You inspire each other, right?
Absolutely.
So empowering women in industry, I'd love for you to be there. I'd love for your team, they're going to be a shining light. They already are as a sponsor. So we'll see you at WEFTech for sure.
Yes.
You have a booth there. So everybody come and check out that technology. That's going to be in New Orleans. And I feel like, so we're in September now. That is crazy.
I know.
But this is the October of, what's next. And so come and check out that. There's a lot of digital technologies there as well. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit to ask you kind of what is there to see at WEFTech, but just give us a little bit about WEFTech.
Yeah, we have a great booth this year. We're covering all different aspects of solving water, right? So helping with strategy and operations. What does that look like? Partnering with our customers and clients to make sure that they have the tools they need to be successful in their jobs. So yeah, we'll have some equipment. We're really also focusing on services this year, which is that we're not just creators of technology and
The product itself.
but we're also we have great experts that are there to help set up, commission, service, aftermarket stuff. We do it all. So we'll have all that different stuff on Highlight, and have some fun little booth events too that come see. So
Yeah. So again, if y'all want to get if you want to register, it's WEFTech. That's WEFTEC.org. So make sure that you register for that. It's a great event too. So we'll be seeing each other in October.
Yes.
But I just want to thank you for being here, being at IMTS, being in the Creators Lounge. So this is new for me this is my first ever IMTS, and then I get to be in this amazing Creators Lounge booth with all these amazing thought leaders, and you're definitely one of those leaders. So maybe next year you could be in a booth like this. We'll see. So everybody at IMTS Plus, I hope that you IMTS Plus is the digital version of this online, and I hope everybody that's streaming is paying attention and having a good time out there. But we're loving seeing everybody at the show, and thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story, and for being one of those innovators and leaders while podcasting and showing us how to do it.
Thank you
showing
so
manufacturers how to do it.
Well, thank you so much for thinking of me. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Yeah, you inspire me every day too. So we do it together, and we'll see you at WEFTech.
Awesome. So Amanda Holloway and the Powering Industry Podcast, everybody. Thank you. I think we can get up.
Amanda Holloway, Charlie Matthews, The Creators Lounge, IMTS 2022. Stay tuned for more soon.